Ladies and gentlemen, Lorenza Romanese, she's the managing director of the European Industrial Hemp Association. She's based out in the Brussels office. Lorenza is a veteran policy advisor and communication manager at the European level. In fact, she has led EIHS efforts in Brussels since February 2019, having worked with a number of MEPs to propose reforms affecting hemp in the EU's common agricultural policy. And before that, she has advised interests in the oil and gas sector and led the European Association of Independent Wine Growers.
And at the same time, I'm so pleased to be here with you. I'm replacing Catherine Wilson, Vice President of EIA, and indeed, I'm the Managing Director of the association. So very briefly, let me introduce you to EIA, and then I will guide you through a presentation that is more access to the whole plant approach and all the barriers that we are facing in Europe, as EIA is operating mainly, if not only, in Europe. Which is our mission. Our mission is certainly to steer and to promote hemp farming, processing and trade these companies within the European Union. The objective is to develop finally a real single market for hemp and its derived product based on social, environment and economic sustainability. Our vision is, of course, a sustainable vision, and we try to steer an economic model based on bioeconomy, based on rural development, providing rural jobs, and of course, innovation, transparency, and most important, science-based. We believe that with locally sourced, we can build up a local chain and locally source our raw material, in this case, hemp, with, of course, a knowledge that should come outside of Europe as well, so as a global know-how. EIA is so today composed by 4 people. I'm the managing director, and I'm in charge of the upper part of the plant. Monica is my assistant, and she's managing the office manager. We have Francesco, he's a senior policy advisor. He's in charge of the sheaves and the fibers. And then Victoria, she's in charge of the communication. So whenever you see some post on LinkedIn or social media, of course, follow us, and Vicky is behind these posts. How do we work? This is our internal structure. So from one side, we have the business operator, and from the other side, we have Europe. And somehow we are the link between these two worlds. So we try to grasp the engagement and the problems coming from the sector. Then we assess and we work on the position and on the decision, on the strategy through the working groups, the advisory committee, and the board. On top of us, we can rely as well on the so-called scientific committee. Is a committee of people, of professors coming from 42 universities of Europe and outside Europe as well. Thanks to the scientific committee, we have access to fresh science. Thanks to the board, we can count on a strategic thinking and to define with the secretariat the priorities. And through the working groups, we grasp the experience and the problems of our members. All this is driven into the secretariat, as I explained before, in 4 people. And then our task is to deliver, to change legislation, to increase the reputation of EIA, the network and the knowledge through Europe. When I speak about Europe, we mean basically 3 main institutions: the European Commission, who is drafting the laws, the Parliament and the Council, both are voting on the proposal coming from the Commission. Why hemp is so good? Hemp is so good because it has several environmental externalities. For instance, 1 hectare of hemp can capture up to 13.4 tons of CO2, which makes hemp more efficient than a forest. When it comes to soil, we don't negatively affect so much soil, as hemp does not need pesticide and very little of no fertilizer. It's very good to be grown around near water surfaces, as it creates a natural barrier. And of course, hemp produces pollen in a period of pollen scarcity, which is quite good for the bees cycle. It's very good for the biodiversity. As a rotational crops, we know that if we use hemp in our rotational crops, in the rotational of our crops, we know that we will increase the yield of our hectares. Hemp provides naturally a cover for the soil, because it grows so fast. So by growing fast, hemp can naturally control the other weeds. It can reduce the water because by keeping the ground always with a huge quantity of humidity, this is why we said that the hemp needs less water. Eliminate and extrapolate from the soil all the heavy metals, which is quite crucial for our agricultural lands. EIA has created and prepared a Green Deal. We match the Green Deal coming from the European Commission. This document is available in several languages on our website. Very briefly, within this document, the scope of this document was to show to authorities how hemp can be efficient for multiple reasons that you can find here summarized in these slides. When we speak about Europe and hemp, we are not speaking about an enormous crops. Hemp was big in Europe in the 40s, and then because of regulation, the number of hectares dramatically decreased between after the Second World War and 2000, goes down to 1,000 hectares only. But now we are seeing a big comeback. We count today in Europe more than 50,000 hectares. The biggest producers is certainly France, followed by Italy, Germany, Netherlands, and Romania. We are experiencing some peaks in the extreme in the east of Europe, Lithuania, and Estonia. What we can do from hemp, from the seeds, the flowers, and the leaves, which are the three upper parts that I'm in charge of. First of all, we always would like to recall that seeds, flowers, and leaves are a source of traditional food. This has been consumed for centuries, and I'm not here in India to explain anything new to you about cannabis and hemp. Seeds are very good because they have a perfect ratio of omega and fatty acids. Leaves and flowers are a precious source of phytocompounds that help and maintains our body in homeostasis. And when it's given to animals as feed, we know that hemp has the capacity to enhance the nutritional profile of the products derived, and as well the well-being of the animals. Hemp is marketable. The hemp seeds are marketable in Europe as long as these seeds respect a certain value. We measure this value of THC in milligram per kilogram. And as you can see, we are currently having very restrictive limits when it comes to THC in food. We as EIA, in the second column, we would like to have higher value, the same as Switzerland and Canada for food. When I'm speaking about food, is derived from seeds, dry food, and oil. And then we have other countries within the European Union that are even asking for lower value. We, as EIA, we are currently trying to increase this value, and we are backing up this value by launching toxicological studies on human beings on THC. When it comes to the upper part of the plant, another barrier is the novel food issue. When a product is considered novel, it simply means that it has not consumed up to a significant degree before 1997. Therefore, I need a pre-market authorization. This pre-market authorization is very costly and it's very long. So we do not believe that all parts of the plant should be seen as novel. We believe that some of these parts should be seen as traditional food, but the problem of this whole project, of this whole dossier, is that the European Union has been changing idea around hemp. So as you can see in this slide, from 1997, the European Commission said in writing to the operators that hemp was food and all its derived products were food. So the business has grown considerably since 1997 as the legislative landscape was very clear, was a food. And then back between 2018, even a little bit early, some parts of the plants were considered novel if the food business operator respected the naturally level 3 to 4%. This was food, traditional food, while if the food business operator was enriching, these extracts were considered novel. Therefore, needed therefore a pre-market authorization was needed. In 2019, everything went bad for us because all the parts of the plants, doesn't matter how many cannabinoids there were in the final product, all the plant was considered a novel food, therefore not marketable till the moment we have a novel food authorization. This is the rules. The reality is a little bit different. We are still marketing some product, but it's not so easy. It's kind of left into a gray zone. 2020 was a dramatic year for the European hemp sector as the Commission decided that hemp could have been considered as a narcotic. This opinion has been reversed by the end of last year. So now hemp in Europe can be food. Novel, probably not all, but still a food. We can do cosmetics containing flower and leaves, containing leaves. We can put into cosmetics. We can use the extracts derived from the leaves. We can use isolated CBD and we can use CBG. These are products that are listed in Europe, meaning marketable. What we do not have access are the flowers. Flowers are still forbidden in Europe. You cannot extract from the flowers, but only for the leaves. And the one that I've listed here are the functions that are accepted in Europe. Therefore, if you intend to expand your business to Europe and you want to market your product in Europe, these are the functions that you are entitled to claim on your product. When it comes to fiber and textile, as we said before, farming hemp is very good for the environment because we don't need chemicals and waters. Is naturally antibacterial, is resistant to UV light, and it's produced local and sustainable. When it comes to construction, it's responsible in Europe for 40% of the total CO2 emissions, so GHG emissions, sorry. So Europe is tackling this problem, and Europe start to think about hempcrete as a possibility because it has huge environmental potential, not only when it's grown hemp, but as well when it's converted into construction material. From hemp, you can extract paper. Or the paper extracted from the pulp of hemp has huge cellulose percentage compared to regular source of paper. It's ecological and it's adaptable and very resistant. But as well, today in Europe, this market is very, very, very low. We can talk about a niche market for cigarette paper and for other limited and very special niche paper uses. The real problem to some of the bottom part of the plant in Europe is that a real supply chain today does not yet exist. More investments are needed, more R&D is needed to really have access to the whole plant approach. Why we want to process the whole plant from the roots till the flowering top? Because we know that this is the only model that is viable from an economic perspective for our farmers. We know that from 1 hectare of hemp cultivated only for fibers, the income for the farmers would be 800 euros. We know that if he can cultivate and have access to seeds, which is the case today, but still we have some issue with the THC limits, the income would be 1,000 euro. And if the farmer has access to the biomass, namely the leaves, which are okay in cosmetics, but not so okay still in food, and especially the flowers, which contain the highest quantity of cannabinoid, the farmers could earn up to 3,500 euros per hectare. So to some, as I said before, only the whole plant approach will pay off. If we concentrate only on growing hemp for CBD, for me it would be a mistake. We do not need more CBD. The quantity of CBD on earth is enough to reply to all the consumers' demand. So we have to diversify and we have to create local supply chain for each parts of these plants and for each derived product of these plants. We need legal certainty in Europe, especially around the flower. EIA, the association, is claiming to have access to the entire part of the plant as it is excluded from the single convention because hemp, by not being a narcotic, neither a drug, it should not fall within the scope of the single convention. It's time now for Europe to set up threshold, both on THC. We do have guidelines on THC. We will have regulation, but still the thresholds are under discussion. We do not have any threshold for CBD, and the studies that EIA is conducting will bring up some results and some threshold and daily intake. The cosmetics, as I said before, has a better shape probably compared to food today in Europe, as we have access to many parts of the plant and many substances. As I said, CBG and CBD naturally derived are, and synthetically derived as well, are allowed. And as I underlined before, the importance of the tox studies that we are launching, not only for food, but as well for feed and its material and the hemp material. Feed, it's a big topic for us today in Europe. It's increasing, but still new guidelines and new limits needs to be adopted. This was all. I will not exaggerate by using, by launching the video. You can find the video on our website. And so I will invite the attendees, if they are interested, to have a look at the video. I will not play the video as I'm using 4Gs, which is quite unstable. Now, I guess there might be some questions, so my presentation is over.
Thank you so much, Lorenza. If you can hear me, I think there is a couple of questions which people want to ask. There's Mr. Saurabh Shekatkar, who has a question. How high is the acceptability of hempcrete in construction, given sustainability requirements in construction? Is there a shortage? Your mic.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I will not satisfy so well the reply of the audience simply because it's not my topic. As I said before, Francesco Merizzi is working on the bottom part of the plant, while I'm more on the upper part. What I know about hempcrete is that it's quite easy to access the market in Europe. It's a niche market, it's a small market, but it's growing very fast, and there is interest because, as I said before, 40% of the GHG emission comes from this sector. So we have to do something. When it comes to hempcrete, there are no values, there are no definition, there are no limits. When it comes to fiber, it's much more complex because we need standards, we need certain quality to process the yield. When it comes to construction, it's quite easy. And on top of that, in Europe today, we are missing stocks. We don't have stocks. We have used all the stocks. So imports would be beneficial for the European market in this moment where we are lacking stocks. We are lacking the stocks because bedding is increasing enormously in Europe. So the stocks goes into this market. And then for construction, we are lacking some stocks. So yes, the market is acceptable. No major standards or requirement. As I know, it's quite easy to produce hempcrete, and it's very good that your country is looking at this because there are exceptional thermal properties by building with hempcrete. So I'm sorry, it's not my. I invited the attendees to send us an email, and my colleague Francesco would certainly give him more feedback on construction than me.
Okay, thank you for putting your thoughts on that. I have a personal question. I think more people from India would be interested to know on this. As you might have seen in the past couple of years, India is growing to the hemp sector, and a lot of things are coming up as far as the farming, the cultivation, and even the products on the hemp side. So, being the managing director of EIHA and representing Europe, have you come across any discussion from your members, companies, or associations who are looking at India as a source for hemp raw material or hemp products? I mean, are those kind of conversations happening in Europe?
Europe relies quite a lot on what we can produce, but it's not enough. We are missing chives and we are missing seeds. Now, the problem, what these companies have to bear in mind is that when they enter into our market, they have to respect our rules. And in this case, if we look at the production of hemp, our continent are not yet aligned. We can plant up to 0.2. You can plant up to 0.3. So the issue of your product coming into our continent for the time being is that they might be higher if controlled at the border in cannabinoids, meaning. So if you are looking at Europe, always pay attention to. So sorry, I mean you have the same 0.3% in the field. So I know that you can wash down the seeds and comply with the EU regulation.
Okay, thank you so much, Lorenza, for your time. It was a real pleasure having you with us today. And I think if you can, or Monica can later send us some kind of guidelines which the Indian companies can follow to get aligned to the Europe market, or what kind of guidelines the Indian companies can follow. If you can send us a set of PDF or something, I would like to share that with the Indian audience if it's available.
Yeah, we can send some material, but I cannot do for you a legal. I mean, there is a lot of regulation that you have to comply, because if you do cosmetics, probably it's less complicated than food. When it comes to food in Europe, it's quite complicated. So you need to comply with, 10 regulations. So I will do my best to summarize for you and to prepare something. And my presentation, of course, is available. Monica will send it to you.
Thank you so much, Lorenza, for your time. It was a real pleasure having you with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.